Welcome to the Super Sports Bros Podcast. I am your host, JP Phillips, former collegiate basketball player and former high school basketball coach, now training to be a pro wrestler. I'll be talking NBA, NFL, MLB, UFC, and WWE. I started this podcast because I know sports, bro. My goal is to challenge the narrative of the mainstream media and bring real sports talk back by providing listeners with access to opinions of real athletes and not keyboard warriors. The Super Sports Bros Podcast. For bros, by bros.
Bro.
Good morning, ladies and germs. Yours truly, JP Phillips, here with my brother, JP Phillips, joining us virtually. And today we're going to be talking WWE NXT on the Super Sports Bros Podcast. Welcome, JP.
It's extra Super Sports Bros today.
It's as Super Sports Bros as it can get. So, what I wanted to do was get started talking about NXT TakeOver 31. And what we saw was Johnny Gargano face Damian Priest for the North American Championship. And Priest picked up the win via pinfall. And I wanted to know what you thought of that.
I think that Damian Priest is a very good talent. I think that he has a good career laid out ahead of him if he continues on the path he's on now. I think that he's got main roster, heavyweight picture, written all over him. He does have some things to work on, certainly, but as far as, raw talent coming out of NXT, you really don't want much more from a guy like that. Hopefully they can continue to be molded. I think the sad part, though, is that, you look at this guy and you look around NXT and it's like, well, who is this guy going to go against? You know what I mean? Like, you see him go against Johnny Gargano, and, like, that's great. I love Gargano. I like him in this heel role that he's in now, but that's not a fair fight, when it comes down to it. I know Gargano's good. I know, that might make people mad for me to say that, but, Damian Priest, did anyone think that Gargano was going to beat him?
I certainly didn't anytime they've matched up. No.
So, again, not to knock Johnny Gargano and, not to say that he can't beat him, because we all know anything can happen. But at the same time, it's like, you take a look across the landscape of NXT and it's hard to see who Damian Priest matches up with for a good, who's going to win this match type scenario, especially now that Keith Lee and Dijak have gone, elsewhere.
You mean T-Bar?
Yeah, good old T-Bar.
So, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, Priest is the cream of the crop in NXT right now. He's the best superstar, the best thing going in NXT. I thought it was a good match, but again, like you said, and they've been doing this a lot, is they've been putting on these matches where we already know who's going to win. And it's not necessarily that we don't want to see it, but it's like, how do we want to see it? We want to see, if we know the match, how it's going to go down, like, let's go, get this over with. Do it right, do it quick. That should be a quick... He shouldn't struggle against Gargano. That should be a quick victory. Not a squash, but, let's get this thing moving.
But Gargano's good enough to where he can have a match like that and not get squashed. You know what I mean? Like, no one's going to sit here and be like, wow, Johnny Gargano's done after he loses to Priest. And the other thing I will say, too, is that out of the, I don't know how many matches they've had together at this point. It's been quite a few. But they have had some really cool stuff in their matches. There's been, Priest has taken some serious shit. Like, you remember a couple weeks back, or maybe a couple months back, where he took that awful shot where he went flying over the top rope and back first onto the stairs down on the floor. Like, that must have hurt. I don't know how long ago that was, but I think that was him versus Gargano.
Well, they were in that ladder match together, and then they've been in this rivalry for about, I believe, a good month and a half, maybe 2 months. And we'll talk more on Damian Priest later on the show. I wanted to jump into the next match, which was Kushida versus Velveteen Dream. And Kushida picked up the victory, making Velveteen Dream submit. He tapped him out to, I believe, the Kimura lock, Kushida's version of the Kimura. I want to know what you thought about that match, but I'll just tell you straight up what I thought. I'm digging the new Kushida. I'm digging his new approach to, like, being taken seriously and not goofing around and not playing Mr. Nice Guy, and that's great. But his gear, I think he needs to change it up. 1 minute he's coming out all futuristic Marty McFly looking, and the next minute he's in, like, jeans, but that's neither here nor there. Dream, we'll talk a lot about Velveteen Dream later, but like, man, just because you're in the doghouse doesn't mean you have to make a mockery of selling Kushida's moves. He was crying like a little schoolgirl baby, and there's a fine line between making it believable and just making it a joke. And I felt like he was towing the line very well.
Yeah, he's certainly polarizing, I guess would be the word. But I don't know, Kushida worries me right now because, like, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say I don't like him because I do. You know, he's got a cool entrance, I guess. You know, like the whole time thing is cool when he touches his watch and it changes color in the arena. Like, yeah, that's cool. But I'm worried that he's on the same Shinsuke Nakamura path that we've seen come out of NXT. And, you know, what future does a guy, when you really look at it, when you really, you know, they can push him and that's great, but like, where is this guy gonna go? You know what I mean? Like, is he gonna end up as the next, you know, 205 Live guy, Cedric Alexander type? Like, is he gonna get buried? Like, remember how, you know, Ricochet had 400,000 times more of a push and more support down in NXT than Kushida does now. And look at Ricochet now.
Yeah, Hideo Itami.
Hideo Itami's another perfect example.
Yeah.
Actually, that's probably the best example. Is he the next Otani? Because obviously that didn't work out so well.
We then saw Santos Escobar pin Isaiah Swerve Scott. He retained his Cruiserweight Championship. I'm a fan of Swerve. I think that he'll be a decent mid-carder someday on the main roster. Escobar, I think it's still too early to tell with him. I'd like to continue to see where they go with Legado del Fantasma. I just don't, and I don't know how you feel. I want to know how you feel. I don't care about the Cruiserweight Championship. I used to, and I remember when I used to. It was when Neville was king of the Cruiserweights, had a nice match with Aries at WrestleMania.
The guy that used to fight with the banana?
Banana?
He used to carry around a banana, the little guy. Aries.
Yeah. Then they had the Enzo Amore feud, and it still had relevance, that Cruiserweight Championship, and then, I don't know, somewhere along the lines when Enzo had to relinquish it and they stripped him. And
people were so sick of it. He was so done at that point, and that was such a reach, and they tried so hard to keep him relevant, and what it did was it lost credibility for him, and it lost credibility for the title that he held.
It just saddens me that I don't care who has the championship, who has the title.
It's funny you mentioned that because I was trying to sit here and think about how I'm going to say this nicely, but that's exactly how I feel about the Cruiserweight title. That's how I feel. I told you before, I DVR it, and I have to be completely honest, I fast forward through almost the entire segment every single week.
I almost can't blame you, but I don't. I have to sit there and watch.
I like Phantasma. I've seen enough of Phantasma. I'm not saying I skip them every time, but what they need is the two goons that he's got. Mm-hmm. They just don't do it for me. They need more credibility. I understand you can't have like these, you know, you couldn't put up like, you know, Akam and Razor with them. That wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah, no.
I don't know. Again, it just comes down to what are they bringing to the table? What are they doing to make me want to watch? And it's just not there.
We'll talk more about Legado del Fantasma later. Next match saw Io Shirai win with a pinfall victory over Candice LeRae for the NXT Women's Championship. I'm a huge Io Shirai fan. I think she's the best female wrestler in the world. And I thought about this match. You can say Rhea Ripley, so if you want to say it now, be my guest. But I thought about, like, who else do you put against Io Shirai right now in the NXT Women's Division to have a believable title match? And it was like Candice LeRae. And then if it's not Candice LeRae, it's Rhea Ripley, and I know they're building to that, and we'll talk about that later. Did you watch that match?
I did watch most of that match. I agree, Shirai is on another level. I think the match that we all want to see is Shirai versus Asuka.
And, oh my gosh.
You know, other than that, like, even with the best option and only option right now, as far as I'm concerned, being Rhea Ripley, but not something I want to see, not something I really cared about, because I personally think Rhea Ripley's overrated.
I think she's done everything she's needed to do in NXT.
She has. The way that they book her, though, is just not what she is.
Gotcha.
I don't know.
Main event. Great 5-star wrestling match. I don't know what you thought about it. Kyle O'Reilly losing to Finn Balor with pinfall for the NXT Championship. Damn. It lived up to the hype. I was glued. And I think Kyle O'Reilly is in that discussion for best wrestler in the world. Finn Balor, man, he can work with just about anybody, huh?
Yeah, Finn Balor has definitely re-established himself, I should say, down in NXT. Now, you know, obviously keep in mind that he's not going up against Brock Lesnar down in NXT.
No.
But the right move for his career, absolutely.
Yeah.
Kyle O'Reilly, to go back to him, because we all know about Finn Balor. For people that didn't know about Kyle O'Reilly, now you know. If there wasn't a guy named Adam Cole, the picture of Undisputed might be a lot different.
Yeah.
You know, that match was everything I had hoped it to be because, it was brutal and it was sometimes hard to watch. And when Kyle O'Reilly took that kidney shot, I was worried for his safety, and that's, it blurred the lines of what's real and what's fake, and that's what I like to see. When I question what the hell's going on here, is this guy even all right to finish this match? But it just shows you the grit and the drive and the passion that Kyle O'Reilly has, and he's so goddamn talented. I don't know if I could say goddamn, but he's very goddamn talented.
You can say that all you want. We swear here on the Super Sports Bros podcast, but we try not to swear too much. So that was the first time that they moved locations from Full Sail University to the Capitol Wrestling Center. I wanted to know what you thought of that. They've been getting a lot of shit about the lighting in the building and how dim and dreary and dark it is, but I also listened to someone else say that they finally got to see what Damian Priest would look like if he was called up to the main roster, had that superstar appeal because it was so different than the Full Sail setup they had. What do you think about the change of the locations for the film shooting?
The first night of the CWC, when they first showed it, I was my gut instinct was ugh, but the more I've seen there, it's kind of how I felt when they put the Thunderdome out. I was kind of at the beginning, but
it grows on you, yeah.
It's just so much better than what
they
it was.
had. Yeah.
It's almost gotten normal to not have fans there with the screen, the fans on the screen. It's almost normal now, and it's almost fine. And, it doesn't replace real fans because you can never replace real fans.
The fake crowd noise, which pains me, but whatever.
Yeah, the crowd noise is weird. I don't understand how they can chant "This is awesome" when they're clearly not chanting anything.
Right.
And I don't like the post-production, chants of "This is awesome" put in because that seems cheap. But it's better than having nothing.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's a move that they had to make, which I understand. It's money I'm sure they didn't want to have to spend, but they had to do it. And this is 2020 and pandemic, and we take what we can get at this point.
I gotta say, it's nice, it's better than what they had, but I do feel kind of bad for the loyal Full Sail fans. It's going to be interesting to see what happens when things get back to normal, if things ever get back to normal, whether or not they stay where they're at, or if they go back to Full Sail or what. I know they were branching out before the pandemic. They were going to a lot of newer places and areas that they hadn't been before and taking NXT on the road, but we'll see.
I hope they go back to traveling. It's, I was sad to not have SummerSlam in Boston this summer. You've been there, I've been there, we've been there together. There's something different about being there live that you can't capture on TV.
I hope they go back to Full Sail, and I was actually lucky enough to see an NXT live event before the pandemic. So yeah, it's definitely an awesome experience. But since then, from NXT TakeOver 31 to Halloween Havoc, we've seen the additions to the NXT Women's Division of a returning Ember Moon and Toni Storm, who had made a name for herself in the Mae Young Classic and in NXT UK. What do you think about the Women's Division beefing up with Ember Moon and Toni Storm?
I think they needed it to bolster what some people call the best women's division in all of wrestling, which I'm just not sure where that comes from. I know that, Becky's out, Charlotte's out, so on and so forth.
That's probably where it comes from.
I just don't understand how you can claim to be the best division in NXT when you've lost Bianca Belair and you've lost all these people that kind of gotten you to that point where, that might have been a discussion, but I don't think that's a discussion anymore when Candice LeRae is your second best option, or, third best option if you want to put Rhea Ripley at second best. I don't know. But, going back to Ember Moon, she came up too early. She wasn't ready as a person, it seems, or with her character to come up when she did. There was, it seems, no real plan to keep her there. It's kind of like going back to high school. For me, if I wasn't good enough to play my freshman year on the JV team, then why put me there? You know what I mean? If you're going to bring them up, use them. So,
is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
Well, clearly, and now she's got to revamp her character. She's got to become a biker person, and, I think Mad Max character, I'm not really sure what that is.
I like where you're at. First impression on when she came out.
I was not happy to see her, let's put it that way.
I was happy to see Ember Moon, I just wasn't happy to see her new gimmicks.
Yeah, I haven't put ever with Ember Moon. I like Ember Moon. I think she's...
Her finisher is really cool to see, visually speaking, when they do the replays. It's the best stunner we've had since Stone Cold.
Oh yeah, it's super dangerous, but,
It seems like people are starting to get how to take it without twisting their necks.
I've seen some bad ones, but, I wonder how long she's going to be alive to get away with that.
Well, that's on Ember Moon, too. And it seems to me like she's been training a lot in her time off and has gotten it down to a science where she can now execute the move safely. I hope it goes as long as it can. And I think it's on her from this point, whether or not they ban it or repackage her and give her something else.
Toni Storm, she's cool. I don't know. I know about her. I've seen her wrestle. I don't know if I know enough about her to make an accurate statement that I'm not sure if she's got it.
Well, don't you know what time it is?
Yeah, it's Toni time. But
Toni time.
I don't know. She's a good wrestler. I think that they need her to add, to that women's division and, to add to some opponents for some of these people. Mm-hmm. I can't sit here and say that I think that she's better than someone like Dakota Kai right this minute. She's going to have to prove it. But, I'm willing to give her a chance. She's been gone for a while. And like I said, I've seen her before. She's all right. Shouldn't do anything all that spectacular, but she's fine. We'll see.
I agree with you, and she adds depth, versatility to the NXT women's division, and that's probably what only leg they have to stand on ever since Bianca Belair left and the other women left that got NXT women's division where it is that they're so deep, where you have very talented women on the main roster, but they're split through Raw and SmackDown, 2 shows. If you combine Raw and SmackDown, you could then say, okay, NXT, you don't have the best women's division anymore, but that's another reason why NXT probably stands alone is because they don't have 2 shows to split their women's division. They have 1, and then they have so many to choose from, whereas
it's only
they're limited on Raw and SmackDown.
Instead of 5 hours of programming, they only have to put out 2, so they don't need as much.
What I wanted to talk about next was something that Velveteen Dream and Austin Theory share in common. I don't know all the details, all the facts, but allegations came out against both of these guys. And we saw Theory go up, WrestleMania, stay on Raw for a little bit, and then go down. Dream, there were rumblings of him getting called up, and those have dissipated. I know that his job was on the line for a little while in the news and in the media. I just wanted to what do you think of these 2 guys ever since everything came out against them?
I don't know anything. All I've heard is what you've heard. All I know, it's easy. I don't want to bash these guys too much.
Me neither.
You look at the kind of characters they play, and they always say it's, your personality ramped up to 10. Like, it's hard to be surprised.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard this, but I heard an interview that Dream just gave recently where he had mentioned, like, when the crowd pops, it's orgasmic. He actually used that wording, given all these allegations.
I think Dream can make it. I just think he has some growing up to do and some maturing to do.
Well, you're not the only one that thinks that.
Oh, yeah, that's obvious. But Theory definitely was called up way too early. And he's got a long way to go, but he reminds me of a young John Cena, a young Randy Orton, a young Batista that, you look at those videos of them, way back in the day at Ohio Valley and whatever else, and, that raw talent. Like, this kid's got so much raw talent. He's so good at making you hate him. I hate Austin Theory on TV, but that's what you want. That's good, but it's like, it seems like he's lost with himself right now.
Yeah, they've lost their way. Yeah, okay, I got you.
They both don't seem like nice people, though.
What are you going to do, right?
No one said you had to be.
No. Austin Theory is on my mind, and he recently was on an episode of NXT, lost again to, I think Bronson Reed, and then they followed him off into the parking lot, and he goes, I quit.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen him since, or so we think, and I wanted to ask you what you thought. Do you buy it? Do you buy Austin Theory quitting NXT? Do you buy anything?
All right, so we've seen Kevin Owens quit. We've seen, I don't know, how many numbers of people quit, quote.
Batista.
I'm smart enough to know as a viewer that if he does quit and it's real, it's, they're not putting it on TV. It's obviously part of a storyline. It makes me think. I didn't think about this until just now, listening to your comments a second ago. But, there is a masked man on the loose.
There we go. Okay, I'm glad you brought it up. I was going to say it. I don't know if you thought about it. The last episode of NXT we'll talk about, which was November 4th, the first one after Halloween Havoc. And we saw in Halloween Havoc, and we'll talk about that in a second, how Gargano got an assist from a masked man.
You have to look around. Who's not accounted for?
My bold prediction, and I don't know how bold it is, but I think you share the same mindset, is that's Austin Theory. The last time we saw Austin Theory, before he quit and lost to Bronson Reed, he had a match against Johnny Gargano, where he lost to Gargano. And before the match, Gargano had nothing but nice things to say to him. He's putting him over. They were getting all touchy-feelies, tapping him on the shoulder and blah, 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 blah. It just makes sense. It makes sense for him to be in cahoots with Gargano. Oh, I quit, right? Okay, where's Theory? Where's Theory? Oh, who's this masked man helping out Gargano beat Priest? Who's this masked man sitting at Gargano's house cutting a promo with him? That's Theory. Let's be real. Let's call a spade a spade.
Right. I mean, I was thinking about it. It's like, who could it be? My first thought was Ciampa, but it's not Ciampa.
Yeah, I thought Ciampa too. But then we saw Ciampa.
But at the same time, as seemingly as predictable as that might be, I think that's the smartest move that Austin Theory could make for his career right now.
Yeah.
Is to team up with a guy like Johnny Gargano, who knows what he's doing, who can give him some leadership and can help him out.
Cool. I'm glad we agree on that.
Those two would be good bad guys because they're easy to hate.
Them. Yeah. I was going to wait till later to bring that up, but I do have another one that I'll bring up with you, including it's another masked person prediction. So let's jump into it while we're in it. NXT Halloween Havoc, that was 1 week ago. They opened up with another Priest Gargano. They spun the wheel. It was Devil's Playground?
By the way, the spin the wheel, make the deal thing with Shotzi Blackheart making wolf noises. Oh, cringeworthy. Don't do that next time.
There is no next time. That was a one and done.
Like, oh god, that was like, Anne was watching it with me, and even she doesn't know what's going on. She was even making fun of her. Like, good God.
Yeah.
You don't even have a match. What are you doing?
We know that Gargano beat Priest via pinfall and became the new North American champion and the first ever two-time North American champion in NXT. He had help from a masked man who we both think is Austin Theory. And what I just wanted to say real quick before I ask you what you thought of that match was Gargano is high on himself, talking about, I'm making history as the first time ever two-time North American champion. I'm a Grand Slam champion. You stay down in NXT long enough, right, JP? Eventually you're going to win some championships and do some things, right? Am I going crazy?
No, I mean, he's Mr. NXT. I don't see a path for Johnny Gargano
Self-appointed Mr. NXT. No one asked him to do that. It's like Seth Rollins doing the Messiah gimmick thing.
I'm fine with Gargano staying in NXT for life, just the same way I'm fine with Tommaso Ciampa doing the same thing. Those guys are NXT. I feel like it'd be weird for them to not be on NXT.
I need Ciampa
but you're
up on the main
right,
roster.
though. I mean, how long has Gargano been around for?
Man, it's going on, like, I was thinking about it, like, maybe like 5 years or something.
DIY came around, 2016.
Yeah?
When they were a complete afterthought, early 16 maybe.
Right.
It's been a hell of a ride since then. And I remember when there was Gargano versus Ciampa, I was like, can this be over? But looking back, I'm like, can I get more?
Yeah.
Like, those guys are fantastic. I have no problem with that, but you're right. You stay down there long enough, you're going to end up with lots of goals.
You're going to win some matches, and you're going to lose some matches, and you're going to win some championships, you're going to lose some championships. I didn't like Priest dropping the title so quickly, but when you think about it, it's not the NXT championship, it's just the North American championship, so that's the only positive I take from that. It's like, okay, he proved he could win a championship. He defended it 2 times. They had him defend it on an episode of NXT, and then they had him defend it at TakeOver 31, and then he lost it on Halloween Havoc. It makes sense for him to lose it in that kind of match, because we talked about it earlier when we talked about the NXT TakeOver 31 match with Gargano. It's not believable for him to lose a regular wrestling match to a guy like Johnny Gargano. Johnny Gargano is going to need stipulations to beat a guy like Damian Priest. I just didn't like how quick his title reign was. It's like he had it, and then he lost it.
I can see it making sense if a couple things happen. If they bring him up, it makes sense. If they immediately shovel him into a feud with Finn Balor for the NXT title, it makes sense.
Right.
Or if he's hurt, it makes sense.
3 good points, and I think he's hurt. We'll talk about that later. I don't have any facts to back that up. I'm just speculating. All right, after that we saw Pat McAfee, the Brit Am Brawlers come out and run their mouths.
1-2.
Yep, 1-2. They ran their mouths, calling out Undisputed Era. We both know that Adam Cole was, and we didn't talk about this earlier, but at the end of TakeOver 31, Ridge Holland, before his injury, dumped a battered and bruised Adam Cole's body over the barricade, and he was a hired gun. Then Holland goes down with an injury, and that shit's gone to the wind, right? The shit wins.
That poor guy, his career might be over with that.
Well, I don't know if he would have had much to begin with, because they seem to not know how to book anybody.
Honestly, though, that was one of the most gruesome leg injuries I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
That was on like a Gordon Hayward, Dak Prescott level.
If only they stopped doing all those dives and jumps and stupid shit. You'd think they would learn from their mistakes. Anyway, so then we find out that McAfee was behind that. There was a title defense prior to Halloween Havoc with Breezango having to face Undisputed because Cole was out and O'Reilly was out because of the match he had with Balor. It was going to be Fish and Strong, right? And then we saw each one by one, get attacked backstage. And I want to ask you about that in a second, but okay, so So then O'Reilly gives their spot to Birch and Lorcan. And then they go on to beat Breezango, okay? O'Reilly comes out after the call-out, and then here comes Pete Dunne, who's obviously, whatever trouble he was dealing with the virus in England and overseas.
He wasn't allowed to travel.
Yeah, he wasn't allowed, and that's why we saw the Broserweights break up and Timmy Thatcher do his thing. So now whatever issues have been cleared up, and now he's back. And he turns on O'Reilly because of what Roderick Strong did to him back in the Dusty Rhodes Classic. And then they formed that new stable with Pat McAfee, the Brit Brawlers, and Pete Dunne, and they call themselves now the Kings of NXT. I wanted to know what you thought of that.
Alright, I didn't know about the Kings of NXT thing. I don't like that. I'm not sure I like Pat McAfee being involved at this point. Further than what he was, I was fine with what he's done up until this point, but now I'm not sure if I dig it anymore because, like, get out of here, dude. But at the same time, he is almost Miz-like with the microphone. He is a very good shit talker. The other thing, I like how it all got set up. I always like a good backstage, somebody's hurt, who fucking did it, I do like that aspect of WWE, every time they do it for the most part, because that's exciting, it's entertaining. I'm not sure how I feel about the Oni Lorcan and
championships.
I'm just not sure how I feel about them being heel with McAfee.
Or being pushed for that matter.
Well, I think they deserve to be pushed. They've taken their lumps, and they've been around, and they've stuck around, and they've, if Breeze and Zango are going to get a title, then, these guys are entitled to one too. It's just the same.
They're a step up from Breezango. They're more believable as your tag team champions.
Right. Like I said, I put them in the same line with Imperium, who I respect, and I think deserves, they deserve their title run.
Right.
But it's just, I don't know. For what I know about those two guys and what they've stood for up to this point, to see them go heel is a little disheartening. But you add Pete Dunne to the mix, now it's completely different. I'm all in. I love Pete Dunne and anything that guy does.
Alright, I gotta ask you while we're on the topic of Pete Dunne, because this is how I feel about it. I don't know when. I hope it's sooner rather than later. I want him to go after Timothy Thatcher because
I'm sure
he's the reason.
But
they better not wait too long because
they're gonna have to wait now because they're both heel.
Yeah, I know they're gonna have to wait now, but like if I was them, I'd have brought Pete Dunne back and had him go straight after Thatcher.
But do you think anybody really wants to see that?
I do.
I do too. I like Thatcher, but Thatcher's not entertaining.
You could have Pete Dunne be a face and go after Thatcher the heel and say, hey man, you're the reason why I'm not a tag team champion.
Thatcher the heel carries enough weight for it to be worth Pete Dunne going after.
Yeah, well, maybe you're right, maybe you're not.
I think that Pete Dunne aligning himself with, McAfee and these other two guys and going after Undisputed,
well,
that's got some weight.
That's an old rivalry. And I'm thinking
the
one that's fresh out the kitchen is the reason why Pete Dunne was stripped of his, well, it wasn't necessarily stripped, but like travel restrictions kept him from defending. That's why Riddle brought Thatcher, and then Thatcher turned his back on Riddle, they lose the tag team champion.
What are you going to do?
I don't know.
Nobody saw that coming. They never thought he was going to get stuck over there, and it's part of the adjustments we all had to kind of make this year.
I just hope it works out with the angle.
I'm just happy Pete Dunne's back. That's all I have to say. When I heard his music pop, I was pumped, and then I was like, oh, this is kind of weird that he's gonna, come out here and do good. And then when he went bad, I said yes.
Okay.
But Pete Dunne's so much better as a heel than a face.
Yeah. Last thing I wanted to say about that was I didn't buy the whole beatdown of the Undisputed Era. Any version of it, any angle. I didn't buy the Rich Holland. I didn't buy the McAfee and Brit Brawler thing. The only thing I guess I bought was the Pete Dunne thing because, it's right there for you. You see it, right? They did that right in front of us. So I buy that, and like at that point it's a 4-on-1. So here's
what are you saying? Are you saying that you don't buy that these guys can be taken out of the back by just one guy?
I just didn't like the execution of it all, and here's why. Whenever we have seen the Undisputed Era, besides, the very rarest of occasions where one of the members goes out and has a match and everybody else stays in the back, I can probably count on one hand. Call me a liar if I can't count on one hand how many times that's happened, where they just have been separated for a long period of time. So that's why I didn't buy the Rich Holland attack of Adam Cole. I didn't buy the attacks of Fish and Strong, because those dudes are so closely knit as a group. They're always together. We see them together. How the fuck did these attacks go down so flawlessly and perfectly where they were separated and none of them know what's going on? That was my issue. Got one in the way, and we'll get it out the way real quick because this is almost not worth mentioning. but we're going to have to do it anyway. The next match was fucking Santos Escobar putting up his Cruiserweight Championship against Jake Atlas. Why he got a title shot, I'll never know, but that's what they chose to do.
The only thing I could possibly say about that is that maybe it was a deal they made back. Remember when he took an absolute beating from Ciampa?
Yeah. You do this, we'll give you a title shot.
Maybe that was it.
Sometimes they do strange things like that. So JP, I hope that's it, because if it was randomly done, I'd be more mad.
They like Atlas, though. They're trying to make us like him.
Well,
it's
I don't
what
think
WWE did for a while with
Humberto Carrillo.
Humberto
Carrillo. Dalagas. Anyway, I don't think this match needed to be on Halloween Havoc. I don't really remember.
I forgot it even was.
Yeah, I don't really remember much about it. I don't think there were any like special stipulations. I know Legado del Fantasma was involved somehow. We'll talk about them later. Again, that championship, it needs relevance, or they just need to get rid of it. I think there's a way to get it somewhat relevant, and we'll talk about that later. Here we are.
Haunted house match or something?
Haunted house match with Cameron Grimes and Dexter Lumis. And in the last episode on November 4th, a few days ago, Grimes was quoted as saying that wasn't a match, there was no pinfall, there was no submission, but I have that he lost via submission to Lumis. If there was a decision, that's how it went. I'm going to just attack this one real quick, and then I want to know what you think, because you're going to talk more about it than I am, I can just tell. One thing I took away from this match was I did not care for the Fabulous Freebirds. Michael Hayes and in the passenger seat was one of the Von Erichs.
Yeah, I think so.
I didn't care for that at all. You know what I mean? Like, that was so unnecessary, and here's why. Like, it's nice to see cameos of the legends every once in a while. If done correctly, that was piss poor execution. You can't even hear what Michael Hayes is saying. He's just doing the classic old man rambling nonsense where you have to listen super close to hear what he's saying. He's like, oh yeah, the bad street, it's about this many blocks away. Brr. Like, and then the Von Erich in the passenger, he's just there. Like, what was the point of that? It was like distracting. And I know it wasn't much.
They tried to homage it back to the WCW Halloween.
Yeah, they swung and they missed. And they swung and they missed horribly, right? They didn't even foul tip it. They struck out.
I'm sure some people enjoyed that.
I didn't enjoy it.
That's before both of our times.
I thought it was a waste of time.
It didn't mean as much to us as it would have meant for someone a little bit else.
Just do it better, like execution-wise. I don't know.
I have to tell you right now, I am a humongous fan of Dexter Lumis.
Well, I like him, but I'm a huge fan of Grimes.
I love Cameron Grimes.
Straight to the moon!
I love both of them. They're both characters, and I don't know what to make of either one of them, and I like that. They are good. I think that's a perfect matchup of them together because, Grimes is out of his mind, and Lumis is
out of his mind.
I don't know what he is, but I like it. And the zombies thing was so weird. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
That was weird. I didn't care for that.
That was so weird. They were just rolling around in the ring. And how about at the end when they came up and each one grabbed a leg of Lumis and were kneeling
that was cool.
Them? What is happening?
That was cool. It was just different.
It was cool. Again, it was cool. I liked it. It was Halloween. I'm all into zombies. I love it. Whatever. But I remember watching it live going, what the hell is going on?
I feel like that's almost what they wanted for a reaction.
But in an entertaining way. I was happy about it, but I was like, what the hell is happening right now?
Yeah. If it counts as a win, the perfect way for Lumis to win,
Yeah, whatever.
He just totally disregarded all the zombies, they weren't even there.
That's the thing with Lumis, is just keep them all weird and stuff, and have them show up random places. I like that. I'm fine with it.
Okay, next, we saw Rhea Ripley pin Raquel Gonzalez. Damn, that was a good match. Raquel Gonzalez is a beast, and she's quite the adversary to Rhea Ripley. It's almost like we may look back on this someday and be like, wow, that's like a Flair Steamboat of NXT.
I feel bad because maybe I need to go rewatch it because I fast forwarded through it because I do not care at all about Raquel Gonzalez one bit.
Well, the reason I said it was because she made Ripley, she pushed her to her limits.
Maybe I'll have to go watch it, but I'm caring less and less by the day about Rhea, and I don't care one bit about Raquel. So I don't have much to say about that one. If it was a good match and it's worth watching, then I'll watch it. And, I appreciate a good match. And, that's when your attitude towards people changes, is when they show you something. So, who knows? But from what I've seen, it's just, maybe it's a bias. I don't like Dakota Kai and, that whole thing.
I like Dakota Kai. Main event, ladder match. Io Shirai climbed up, grabbed her title. Candice LeRae did not. She lost. She had help in the match. And then, of course, Shotzi Blackheart intervened and squashed LeRae's plans to cheat and win the championship, even though there were no rules against it. And we'll talk about what happened to Shotzi Blackheart for sticking her nose in Candice LeRae's business. The masked person in the match could be Austin Theory. I have another theory, but what do you think about that? Did you watch it?
Yeah, I watched that one. I don't think I watched it like with full attention.
Dude, Candice LeRae took a nasty bump, a nasty spill onto the ladder.
Oh, I think I remember seeing that one.
That's how it finished. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it made sense for them to have Shotzi Blackheart host the event. The week before, she lost to Candice LeRae to be in that match.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then she's hosting it, and it made sense for her to get involved in the main event.
Yeah, that's fine.
I didn't think LeRae was going to win.
No, it was never even an option. The only way that LeRae wins is with interference. She's not even in the same stratosphere as Io Shirai. Not to say that she's not good, but, you know, Io Shirai is just that good.
Well, championship level, that's what we're saying.
Yeah, Io Shirai is just that much better than everybody else.
So that was Halloween Havoc, okay? And we're going to take a quick break and hear from our sponsors. I happen to be sitting here with one of our sponsors, JP. Why don't you give yourself a free plug and talk about TCT real quick?
Yeah, if you're looking for any nice collectibles or sports cards, TCT Sports Cards, find it on Instagram, you can find it on Twitter, you can find it on YouTube, you can find it on Facebook, you can find it, you know, on eBay if you want to go direct to the source. But no matter where you find it, there's links for all those things embedded into everything, so you can get where you need to go if you're looking for something. If you're not, you know, feel free to check us out anyway. You might find something you're looking for.
Now, I think the question on everyone's mind is, what does TCT stand for?
Yeah, that's in the name, trading cards and things. It's been abbreviated to TCT just because of trading cards and things is a mouthful to say every time. So TCT is just a nice little acronym that fits in nicely. No one's using it, and, you know, no companies exist by that name already. So
Mystery solved. Trading cards and things. Check them out. SSB TCT. Super Sports Bros. Trading cards and things. Yeah, we're gonna take a break and we'll be right back. All right. This podcast is brought to you by Trading Cards and Things. If you collect cards and sports memorabilia, go and check out my brother JP's eBay store, TCT. He's got a wide variety of inventory from MLB to NFL to NBA to WWE and more. You can find him online at ebay.com/STR/trading cards and things, on Twitter at TCT Sports Cards, or on Instagram at Trading Cards and Things. This podcast is brought to you by Trading Cards and Things. If you collect cards and sports memorabilia, go and check out my brother JP's eBay store, TCT. He's got a wide variety of inventory from MLB to NFL to NBA to WWE and more. You can find him online at ebay.com/STR/trading cards and things, on Twitter at TCT Sports Cards, or on Instagram at Trading Cards and Things. Tell him Buddha sent you. This podcast is brought to you by Undisputed Nutrition. From vitamins and supplements to new or used fitness equipment and more, look no further. Go see Sean and his friendly staff. They go above and beyond with customer service. That's Undisputed Nutrition, located at 149 Boston Turnpike in Shrewsbury, Massachusetts. Online at shopundisputed.com, on Twitter at shopundisputed, or on Instagram at undisputed_nutrition. And tell them Buddha sent you.